The afternoon sun filtered through the pristine white blinds of the suburban living room, casting perfect, geometric shadows across the beige carpet. Everything in Sarah's house was exactly where it was supposed to be. The throw pillows were fluffed, the magazines were stacked in descending size, and the silence was heavy, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator. Sarah, a 45-year-old former accountant and mother of two, sat at her polished dining table with a cup of lukewarm tea. She looked around at the comfortable, predictable life she had built with her husband, David. It was a good life, a safe life. But as the sunlight hit the blank, cream-colored walls, Sarah felt a familiar, hollow ache in her chest. It was the feeling of a song that had never been sung, a splash of color that had never been painted. For years, Sarah had buried her secret dream under layers of practicality and responsibility. 2 decades ago, she had chosen the stability of accounting over the uncertainty of art school. She had told herself it was the smart choice, the mature choice. But now, with her children growing older and her career behind her, the silence of the house seemed to amplify her regret. Sarah often found herself staring at the art supplies in the store aisle, her fingers hovering over tubes of cerulean blue and crimson red, only to walk away with a sigh. The fear of failure was a high wall. She whispered to herself that she was too old, that her time had passed, and that trying now would only lead to embarrassment. She felt like a dried-up flower that had missed its chance to bloom. One crisp Saturday morning, David convinced Sarah to attend the local community fair. The air was filled with the smell of popcorn and the sound of laughter. They walked hand in hand, admiring the stalls selling handmade crafts and jams. Near the back of the fairgrounds, there was a small tent displaying artwork from the local elementary school. Sarah wandered in, expecting to see stick figures and messy finger paintings. Her eyes landed on a large piece of paper covered in wild, chaotic swirls of purple and orange. A young girl was standing next to it, beaming with pride, her hands still stained with paint. The painting wasn't perfect. It was messy, unrefined, and completely uninhibited. It was pure joy. Sarah stared at it, tears pricking her eyes. The child didn't care about rules or perspective. She just wanted to create. David noticed Sarah's intensity. He squeezed her hand gently. "You used to look at paintings like that," David said softly. "You know, Mrs. Chen is offering adult beginner classes at the community center. I saw the flyer by the entrance." Sarah stiffened, her old defenses rising up. "Oh, David, I'm too old for that. I haven't held a brush in 20 years. David looked her in the eyes, his expression serious but kind. "Sarah, the only person telling you it's too late is you. Don't you want to see what happens if you just try?" The next Tuesday, Sarah stood outside the door of Mrs. Chen's studio. Her heart was pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. She almost turned around to walk back to her car, back to the safety of her clean, white kitchen. But then she remembered the little girl at the fair. Sarah took a deep breath, pushed the door open, and walked inside. The room smelled of turpentine and linseed oil, a scent that instantly unlocked a memory of joy she had forgotten. Mrs. Chen, an older woman with paint-splattered overalls and a warm smile, welcomed her. "Welcome, Sarah," Mrs. Chen said. "Grab an easel. There are no mistakes here, only experiments." Sarah approached the blank canvas. Her hand trembled as she picked up a brush. For the first 20 minutes, she just stared at the white space, the accountant in her brain demanding a plan, a structure, a guarantee of perfection. Mrs. Chen walked by and whispered, "Just make a mark, any mark." Sarah dipped her brush into the deep blue paint. She closed her eyes, let out a long breath, and swept the brush across the canvas. A bold, imperfect blue streak appeared. It wasn't a spreadsheet. It wasn't a schedule. It was just color. A rush of emotion flooded through Sarah. Relief, excitement, and a profound sense of homecoming. She didn't paint a masterpiece that day. She painted a messy, vibrant abstract of blues and greens. But as she worked, the anxiety that had tightened her chest for years began to loosen. She forgot about being 45. She forgot about being a mother or a wife or an accountant. She was simply a creator. When David picked her up later that evening, Sarah was covered in smudges of paint, her hair messy, and her smile brighter than he had seen in years. "I made a mess," Sarah laughed, showing him her paint-stained hands. "And it was wonderful." Sarah realized that day that the timeline she had created in her head was an illusion. Life does not close its doors simply because we age. We close them ourselves out of fear. True failure isn't making a bad painting or starting late. True failure is never picking up the brush at all. It is never too late to pursue the things that set your soul on fire. If you like this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.